Today, uniquely, is in many ways historic for us. Today's a monumental day for us. And if you are ever going to be at Journey, today is one of those days you're like, man, this is a really good day to be here. And I'll tell you why in a minute. Before I tell you why, I want to tell you, let you in on a little bit of an experience I had recently. It was, I think maybe we're pushing a month or so ago now. I had an opportunity with a group of about 9 or 10 other people to get a tour on the USS George Washington, which is an aircraft carrier. And this is, I'll just show you a picture, this is kind of random, odd picture, right? But this is when we're walking up to it. And this was just the shot that, I didn't really comprehend how big this thing was going to be until I was walking up next to it. And I was like, okay, this, in my mind, I have a thing, or I've seen a picture online or something. But then as I walk up, I was, man, this thing is unbelievably big. And so this just walking up and next to it, let me show you one more just to get a little bit of scope of size and everything. This is from down in front. And I want to show you a little spot here up at the top. There'll be a little circle there. I'm going to show you a picture from up in here earlier, but that is 17 stories in the air. That's 17 stories in the air. That's obscene to me. And I will tell you, the 17 stories are trekked on very little narrow staircases where you duck to get from one level to the next to get through little portholes. It's an experience to get there. And I had an opportunity to be inside of all of this. And now let me show you, we'll show you just kind of from the control center where everything happens. This is just a look out this window. This whole thing will be full of windows. That's 17 stories up in the air. And everything that looks like pavement that you see is actually part of the aircraft carrier. Okay, and that's all out there on this deck. And they were actually doing some work and some painting on the deck, so we weren't actually allowed to go down there, but we were able to see over it and everything. And it's fascinating to me because this boat is so enormous. I didn't really have comprehension until I got on it, and we were getting the tour, and the commanding officer of the ship is taking us on the tour. And on this aircraft carrier, when it is fully functional, which today, right now, it actually is fully functional. It is on its way to Japan right now. It's kind of a months-long trip to get there. But since we were on it, they finished up all the things they were working on, and now it's on its way to Japan. And on its way to Japan, there are 5,500 sailors that live on that aircraft carrier. 5,500 on one boat. And for you just to start thinking about, that's a small city functioning. Okay, that's a small city functioning. They have all the food, and then that they need to get started, and then ways to get food brought in. They have all these really modernized and high-level refrigeration systems to keep food for long periods of time. They have this little room that sailors can go. It's a little more relaxation. They can play some video games. They can do whatever. And they have soundproof phone booths where they can sign up for 30-minute windows to call home. Okay. And so they said there's usually this line out there, right? There's just a line of soldiers waiting for their signed up time because that's their window, right? There's a chapel there for those who want to be part of worship experiences. There is a full slate of medical care on the aircraft carrier. Okay, there's doctors, there's nurses, there's even a surgeon, right? So, forget just, what if something happens inside of combat. It's just if you're on there and you get sick or you get hurt, doing your work, which is part of being on the boat. All of these sailors, 5,500 of them, have jobs. They have a job. They're not just, sitting in the sun on the way to Japan, right? They have jobs. They work really hard, and so then they if something happens, they have to have this medical care, and it's there, and it's readily available for all 5,500 of them. And it's just remarkable to me to watch how all of this thing functions together. But here's the thing. All of them are working for a common direction. All of them are working to make one thing possible. All of them have all of their energy going. In fact, this is why they're even being fed. It's why they're doing their jobs. It's why they have medical care. So if something goes bad, they can be regrouped and put back into the job to do the work. They're all trying to get to this one thing, and it's really the purpose of the aircraft carrier. The purpose of the USS George Washington is to very simply do this. That thing exists to be able to, off the deck, launch fighter jets, to launch aviators into practice flights to stay sharp, into surveying and seeing what's happening, into potential defense modes, into potential combat modes, like 5,500 people on the ship all working together, different functions, different roles, being fed so they have the energy they need, having sleeping quarters so they can get the rest they need, having the medical care they need to stay healthy and vibrant or to be made healthy again after an injury or a sickness so that they can do that. So that they can launch aviators and fighter jets. It's amazing to me. Amazing to me. And as I walked around, followed this guy on this tour, I was reminded over and over and over and over and over again how much this really does resemble the purpose Jesus has for his church. The purpose Jesus has for his church is to be a people, not a thing, but a people. Not an organization, but a people. A movement of people that he is sending into the world. To sending into the world to say, man, look, I am on a mission. There is something at stake. Like, let's go do this. And if we could just for a minute, hold that. All of us are part of this thing, and all of us are sending each other, right? But there is a temptation. In fact, I would say there's more than a temptation. There is a common practice of viewing and treating the church more like this. We say, we're more of a cruise ship. Could you just make this so I can get warm? Could you just make this so I can get some warm fuzzies? Could you just I enjoy the buffet that is the church. Let me come and eat well. And John, if you say something good, that was a cupcake. That's great. Get some dessert in today. This is great. Oh man, I could they've got these things for my kids, and that's great because that's what I'm looking for. That's great. And then when we leave, and we'll let everybody, we'll let the crew, whoever the crew was, we'll let the crew, they'll do their thing to get it ready and to make the food, then clean up the dishes and take care of it and do the maintenance on the cruise ship. And then I'll be back for another round. Take me to the Bahamas, right? And I don't necessarily think that's instinctively what we do, but it is the pattern of the culture. And so, listen, it's not even a temptation. It's unfortunately a practice. We're not even tempted to do it. It's our default. Because it's what we live in and around, right? We are consumers, by nature. It's what culture has created us to be. We just consume, right? And some of you would say, yeah, but John, I need to rest. I need to regroup. God, I came here for healing. And I'm so glad you did. That the number of people we have watched over the years come to Journey and find healing and find this renewal in life with Jesus and find life with Jesus beyond empty religion is amazing. I'm so grateful God has allowed us to have that slice of impact. But listen to me. All of that is available on the aircraft carrier. All of that is available on the aircraft carrier. And what's also available on the aircraft carrier is purpose and its mission, and its direction, its value. I saw a thing yesterday. You can pay $499,000 if you're married. You can pay $499,000, $299,000 if you're single, which this might motivate some of you to be single forever. But you can pay those fees to get a lifetime pass to cruising. I can't remember on which cruise line. Where when you retire, you can just, $499, you can cruise unlimited, forever. I'm just telling you, man, I think you'll be fat and miserable, not fat and happy. I just don't think it's going to work that way. Right? It's just for the rest of your life, you can just get on a cruise and everybody can do everything for you. That is not your destiny. It's not your design. It's not how you were wired. That's not how God made us. God made us to be contributors and to watch the beauty and the wonder of work and growth and development, right? And so he's like, hey, let me send, let me be on this aircraft carrier and let me occasionally launch you, launch you. He send you. You say, why is he doing that? Why is that such a big deal? Well, I want to take us back to what is so common for Journey, just like it's this constant rallying point for 17 years for Journey. Jesus said a lot of things about himself. I came to seek and save the lost. He's on the mission. Jesus is searching for a relationship with every single person in humanity who doesn't yet know him, including you. If you're here today and you don't have a personal, vibrant, growing relationship with Jesus, he is searching for your attention. He is searching to convince you of his all-consuming love and passion for you. He came to heal the sick, came to release the captive. He came to remove blinders from people and allow us to see truth. He came to give us eternal perspective. He talked about all these things he did, and he wrapped them up in this phrase in John 10:10 when he said, if you want to put it all together, I came so people could have life. And they could take hold of life to the full. They could grab a hold of what life could really be. In all of its brokenness and chaos, I came so they grab hold of life, what it really could be. And that's so gracious of him. You're like, yeah, it's great. What's that have to do with an aircraft carrier? Well, look at the first part of that verse. Jesus, right before he said that, said this, there is a thief, and the thief is at war. He's actually here trying to steal, kill, and destroy your life. There is an enemy. There is an enemy. And Jesus saying, I came to have, so that you could have life and take hold of it to the full, Jesus' statement is a battle-type statement. It is an acknowledgement that there is somebody else. There is an enemy named Satan trying to steal, kill, and destroy your life, mislead it, deceive and give you just enough of what feels like truth to allow you to be misled, to get you focused on just these 70 or 80 years and forget about the scope of eternity, to be all about yourself and never about others. Right? He's like, hey, she says, I'm not standing for that. I've come to push against that so that you can have life. And you can take hold of it to the full. And the question starts to become, will we be part of the aircraft carrier or will we treat the church like a cruise ship? Jesus talked about his church as a movement of his people. His people. You're the church. I'm the church. We're the church. It's part of the reason several years ago, we just felt compelled by the Holy Spirit to say that what we're really doing is not building bigger buildings and not trying to do that thing, which all that thing is great. I'm for it. But our unique calling was to launch locations, to say, okay, look, let's not try and make this a room that seats 1,000. Let's launch locations. And we said, let's launch, if we can launch 5 and 10, that feels miraculous to us, feels overwhelmingly big to us. But what would it look like to launch 5 and 10? We did that in 2017. And we launched Middleville. Last week, that this would not be like an official form yet, but last week, if you were here, we really launched the South. They've got this dream to plant a church in Austin. We've launched another thing that we're still looking for how to define kind of in our community, somebody with a burden and a dream of an expression of the church. Today, we're launching Synergy. We're launching this fresh expression of the church. We'll talk more about that, but it's like this is our thing. Let's do that. Let's do that. And Synergy is this incredible opportunity to say, hey, look, every church expression doesn't look the same and doesn't need to look the same. And for a lot of us, the difference in church look is it big or small? Which that's one minuscule way. But what I want you to do for a few minutes today is I want you to take whatever you think of when you think of a model of church, which for a lot of you, it's this kind of context. Just take it. And I want you, as best you can, just pull it out, isolate it, and set it to the side for a few minutes. Just pull it out, isolate, and set it to the side for a few minutes. And don't compare it to anything else, and don't compare anything else you're going to hear to it. Just this could be different. So when you hear about Synergy as a movement and a disciple-making movement, and wait, it doesn't look like this on a Sunday, and wait, they don't even meet on a Sunday, and again, you'll remember about that. It's are you allowed to have church not on Sunday? Yup. Okay. Like, it's like, are you allowed to gather as the church on not Sunday? Yes. Are you allowed to do? Yes. Just to all things, yes. And it's like, okay, what if we're gonna do this? We're gonna launch 5 and 10. If we're really gonna be more life for more people, then we've got to be open to more ways that allow more life for more people. And we've got to be willing to do the work, the often unseen work that it takes to be an aircraft carrier. We got to be willing to do the often unseen work that it takes to be prepared, always ready, on a moment's notice to launch fighter jets. And to sometimes get ourselves in the fighter jet and go. We got to do the unseen work for that. Now, in just a minute, I want to invite you to hear from Caleb a little bit. And just before we do, I want to remind you very tangibly some ways. We're going to commission the Synergy launch team today. We'll talk a little bit more about their context too, but we're also in this unique window where we're giving uniquely to Synergy. And today is kind of the halfway point of this 2-week window where we just said, look, as we launch a fresh expression, what I want to invite you to do is to say, not do I perfectly understand every little mode of operation of Synergy, but would the Lord have me, would the Lord have our family give something above and beyond our normal giving to Synergy to help them get launched and to help them in the first year? I want to be super candid with you, okay? Just being very honest with you. I've been with Caleb for about 2 years. We've been talking about Synergy for about 2 years. I've never been a part of anything like Synergy. I think if I'm really honest with you today, I understand about 75% of it. Just being honest, okay? And I like that. I like that. Because what I understand closer to 100% of this thing reaches a lot of people. But there's a whole other group of people it doesn't reach. And for us to reach them, we got to be okay doing some things we don't fully understand. We got to be okay going some places we don't fully get. We got to be okay saying, man, we're launching fighter jets, and we don't exactly know what they're doing. We don't exactly know what they're going to see when they get up there. We don't exactly know what they're going to encounter. We don't exactly know how they'll fly this particular mission. Well, we've done everything we can to get ready. We've done everything we can to put ourselves in a continued support. We've done everything we can to help them get ready. Which is far more valuable than treat the church like a cruise ship. Can I just ask, can I just plead with you, even for your own good? I'm not going to gain anything, just for your own good. Just evaluate, how am I viewing the church? Am I viewing this thing like a cruise ship? Am I coming in, and if I can't get a chair in the sun, then I'm out. If I can't put my feet in the pool, then I'm out. If they didn't put my favorite dessert on the dessert buffet, then I'm out. Can I challenge us to actually ask, what is my relationship with the church? Would I invest in what Jesus said his church would be, which was a sending movement? Jesus sent people. His sent people ended up sending people. He sent his Holy Spirit. God sent his Son. Send. Right? So that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. We talked about this last week. It's often painful. It's often hard. The only time it's easy to send is if you don't like the people in the first place. Okay? Which fortunately we have not had to do that yet. Okay. So is it hard? Of course it is. Do we send friends? Of course we do. Of course we do. Of course we do. We're just following the example of Jesus and trusting in his strength in that. So I want to invite Caleb to come. He's just going to navigate us through a little bit more of what Synergy is doing and how that actually looks, and speak to us to help us just see clearly from a slightly different perspective. So Caleb, come on and share with us a little bit. Caleb's going to actually be around with us a little bit going forward too. But for Synergy, this is kind of the end of their time at Journey. So in the context of that, wanted you to get to hear from Caleb one more time. So I was going to say I love this kid, and this morning I reminded myself I can't. He's a young man. He's young enough to be my grandchild, but yeah, great for him.
Thanks, John. John told me that he was only going to take 10 to 15 minutes. Just for the record, he took 20. So I'm going to call an audible, which them back there are used to that by now. So here's how I want to start. Close your eyes. I want you to think of the people in your life who are not here right now. As in, they're not in a church building on a Sunday morning. Maybe these are people that you know their story and they have hurt. Or they have this hesitation with, what are people going to think of me? Or the way that we structure service just doesn't relate to them as well. What would you be willing to do to reach those people? Synergy coexists for those people. Journey Church is an amazing expression of the church. If I linger on it too long, there's no way I'll preach the rest of this little mini sermon because I'll get too emotional. I am forever grateful for every single one of you. Allie and I would not be where we're at in our journey without you. But Journey Church can't reach everyone. There's people in our life, our direct sphere of influence, who are not going to go to a church building on a Sunday morning. But they've been around our dinner table. They've been in our backyard. They've been in double dates with Allie and I. They've been in different spaces where we get to engage in conversation and in discovery of Jesus in really real, authentic ways. And that's our heart. Our heart is just for those people. And so maybe this morning you're hearing about Synergy Co. for the first time and you're like, I don't know what the heck that is. Like, let me maybe give you a really brief summation of who we are. Synergy Collective is a disciple-making movement with the goal of equipping everyday, ordinary people to plant the gospel in their context, their network of relationships, so that we see all of West Michigan saturated with the gospel. Maybe let me just give you a couple examples of that. Maybe you really love riding your motorcycle. Like, if there were like Christian biker gangs, you're all about it. And maybe the people that you are around in that context are rough people. They're messy. They aren't following Jesus. But you have this group of people that ride all the time together, once a week or every other week. Imagine if you shifted your perspective to say, I'm going to plant the gospel in that network of relationships to see the church emerge. Because as John just said, the church is not a building. It's not a model. It's not 60 minutes, one day a week. The church is the people of God who have been called out of the world and sent to reach it. Imagine you really love fishing. And there's a group of people that you just fish with regularly. What if you considered your boat your temple? To say every single person that gets in that boat with me, that's my mission field. That's my context. And so you prioritize intentional relationship. You prioritize engaging in community and engaging in worship, where you're engaging in scripture and you're teaching them what it means to move from unbelief in Jesus to belief in Jesus. And you're also living on mission to serve others and bring other people into the awareness of Jesus. Maybe you're a single mom and you're really passionate about single moms. And so you rally single moms around you regularly to be the church together. And here's the mind-blowing, I think, part of this for me. There's so many people that I think we already cast out as if like, oh, they're never going to follow Jesus. When in reality, I think they're never going to come to what they would think of as church. But they are eager and they're searching for who Jesus is and who Jesus sees them as. And so how do we just create more space for that to happen? A lot of that context is birthed in what we call collectives or a microchurch, a spiritual family of people who are living on mission together and ideally are kind of like 50-50 followers of Jesus and those who aren't following Jesus. Because we long for them to discover him, to encounter him, and to encounter radical community of people who are following him, who actually sell our possessions or consider everything we have everybody else's, to meet needs, to authentically, vulnerably, in an as real way as possible, worship Jesus and talk about him because we love him and he's pivotal in our lives. And as those collectives emerge, they would begin to meet on a regular basis. And once a month, all of our collectives will come together for a larger gathering. And every other week, we'll have spaces where we're growing as disciples, learning how to be equipped as disciple makers in our contexts. And we'll have these spaces where church is happening. But I'm constantly reminded over and over again, like, church isn't something that you go to. It's who you are as a follower of Jesus. It's the community of people together following Jesus. Church doesn't stop when you leave 9185 Cherry Valley Avenue. Church doesn't start when you get here. Church is always happening as you live into the identity of a Jesus follower in community with other Jesus followers to help more and more people discover Jesus. And as you worship, and as you give, and as you celebrate, and all of those things. Maybe, like John said, maybe that's like 30% of what we do, and you're just starting to get a glimpse of that. If you are curious, if you have questions, please come and chat with me, chat with any of our team about what it looks like and how we can answer any questions and how you can continue to support and pray and be a part of this. I will say this, every single story that Synergy Co. will ever celebrate, Journey is just as much a part of it. Because Synergy Co. wouldn't be happening without you. So I'm deeply, deeply thankful for each of you. I had a couple places I want to go today, but I'm just going to sit in one. So if you have a Bible with you, turn with me to Romans 12. Romans 12, verses 1 through 5, Paul writes this. And so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give your bodies to God because of all he has done for you. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind he will find acceptable. This is truly the way to worship him. Don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. The word changing there in the original Greek means a complete change for the better. Let God transform you by completely changing for the better how you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. Because of the privilege and authority God has given me, Paul, I give each of you this warning. Don't think you are better than you really are. Be honest in your evaluation of yourselves, measuring yourselves by the faith God has given us. If you'll catch, on Synergy's logo at the bottom, it has an R12, 4 through 5. Romans 12, 4 through 5. This is our heart. Just as our bodies have many parts and each part has a special function, so it is with Christ's body. We are many parts of one body, and we all belong to each other. Equipping every person to plant the gospel in their context, in their network of relationships. We are all a part of one body, and each of us has a special function. We have gifting and personality and favor with certain people, and we think and operate in certain ways because of how God wants to use you and how that functions all together as a body. But there's a few things that I think need to happen, shifts, changes that need to take place as we are transformed for the better. One of those is there's this trend for Jesus to just be a way to do life. And we have to shift, change for Jesus to be the way. It's really hard to live in a way where other people contagiously grab onto Jesus if he's just an option. Like if you aren't sold out for him because of what he's done for you, and it's just like, yeah, this is a good thing to do. And it brings some good fruit. But if it's not like the only way for you to do life, and I'm not talking about being aggressive here and like just aggressively throwing it on people that they have to be following Jesus, otherwise they're going to hell. I'm saying like authentically, in your core being, Jesus is who you follow. And he's what your whole life is about. And so naturally, we talk about the things we love. Like if I found a really good movie, I would tell you about it. I have told you about it. We talk about the things we love. We don't have to worry about offending somebody. We don't have to worry about them not knowing that we're being genuine because it's just who we are. Hear me on this. Please don't go tell somebody they need to follow Jesus if they don't know that like you deeply love Jesus and are following him. Because they'll just feel like a project. And they get it. They feel that. So we have to make this shift from Jesus as the way. He is our teacher. He is our guide. He's everything for us. Then we have to make this shift from me to we. Even for Journey Church, for Sunday morning and small groups and serving and other outlets, to move from this is for me, this is for my development, this is for my well-being, to this is for we. This is for the community. This is for us as a body, as a people together. All one body with special functions. Imagine even your possessions, your home, your time. When you follow Jesus, it's no longer yours. It's his and it's ours. What if we just lived that way more? And if people not following him experience that and just It was so tangible, so contagious, they wanted it. Then there's this shift, as John's talking about with the aircraft carrier. There's this change from come to go. Or maybe I should say, to come for the purpose of going. There's a reason why we bless and send every Sunday. Because this is like encouragement and celebration and motivation so that when you leave, you're going into the mission field. To sit here to receive in order to go. Not for me, but for we. Then there's this shift from being discipled to making disciples. To owning the identity as a disciple maker everywhere you go. Not about perfection, but about authentically saying, I am making disciples with the people I have influence and favor with. Not just to come to try to become the best Christian I can be, but spiritual formation. Because Romans here is very obvious. You are either conforming to the patterns of the world or you're being transformed by God. You're being formed in one of those spheres. And so allowing that transformation to be so that you can also make disciples in others. And then there's this last change that I might lose you guys on this one. From learning to teaching. Now, I'm not saying like you're all supposed to preach sermons. Every single one of us learns how to follow Jesus and in different contexts, in different ways, and we all have the ability to teach others in unique outlets. Whether that's in physical ways of how we live, whether that's in words and how we speak about it. But we have to own the call to teach other people how to do it. To open our space more so that those around us get to follow Jesus. A lot of our heart, a lot of Journey's heart, is so that more people, larger body, follow Jesus together and continually put him in the place of Lord in their life. And there's a lot of different unique ways that that can happen. And we're just one expression of that, one outlet. So I really encourage you this morning, think about the ways that God is even asking you to be transformed in the way that you think. The way you think about church. The way you think about how God wants to use you. The way you think about your own identity. The way you think about your mission field. The way you think about your neighbor or that messy person that you really don't want to engage with, but you know you should. To change the way you think about your time and your energy and your home and your family and your money so that we can discern the good and pleasing will of God.